Hello, this is Ron Watson. I'd like to welcome you to the latest PTC User Expert Series webinar, the What, How, Why, When, and Where of Positioning Assemblies with Windchill by Bill Ryan at PACCAR. This webinar is co-sponsored by both PTC User and Punditas. So I'm just going to provide a little, for those of you who have attended these previous webinars, we've had fantastic participation. Over 200 people at the last webinar, and so I apologize if this is a little bit of a a repeat, but it's helpful anyway for you to hear. All right, so PTC User's mission, it's support, educate, and advocate. We'd like all of you, and this is critical to meet this mission, to get involved. It's all about you, and so here are a few ways that you can participate. One is be a speaker at an upcoming webinar. We've had such good participation, but also fantastic content from speakers that we know there's a lot of knowledge out there, and there's a lot of things that can be shared. So don't think that what you have isn't worth for other people to hear. We'd love to talk to you about it. The other is share tips and tricks with your fellow PTC users. We've learned over the years, my 20+ years of being participating PTC user, it's just invaluable, the knowledge that I've learned from other users in the community, and not always what to do. A lot of times it's what not to do, which saves you the most time. You could also participate in an upcoming panel discussion, which we're developing as we speak, and that's going to be very, very interesting to do. Of course, you can always send in a short video on how to use a feature or some sort of specific functionality. We're going to be building a bigger content library. As you know, it's been growing, especially with these webinars, and we make that all available to you as members of PTC users. So by all means, if you're not a member, you should be, by now, but if not, go to ptcuser.org. It's free to register. If you want to contribute, contact myself, Ron Watson, or Madhavi Ramesh, at punditas.com. Unfortunately, Madhavi could not make it today. She's in, I believe she's on an airplane right now. So but by all means, she does respond timely to all emails. So mark your calendars. We have on October 4th, we have some things going on that you'll want to hear about. Model-centric stuff that it's going to be very interesting. PTC User Technical Community Open Forum Winter 2018. We've talked about that previously. It's January 16th to the 18th, 2018, at the Wyndham San Diego Bayside, overlooking the beautiful bay in the Pacific Ocean. For those of us that are in the Northeast or in the North, good place to go in January. Certainly better than Boston, right? I think we'd all agree. Please go to register on ptcuser.org. There's more information. I believe there's and don't quote me, but I believe there's a rough agenda where the TC leaders are working hard to put a good agenda together, a really good agenda. We've already have a number of great partners signed up, so by all means, get signed up as soon as possible. As I mentioned, register on ptcuser.org so you can have access to this presentation, this recording, and any previous presentation. So we appreciate that. So accessing the previous webinar information is we're trying to make it as easy as possible. For those of you who are familiar with the PTC user portal, it was recently upgraded to the latest version of Socius, which is the technology provider that we utilize, as well as most, if not, well, at least many user groups do use Socius technology. You go into the file library and you can access information about the webinars, about the rugs, our vendors, technical committees. Again, this is a work in progress. We're making a new effort, more investments in this area, because we know how important a lot of this information is to all of you. So I'm not, obviously I don't work for Punditas, I work for Xylem. But to represent our partners, I'll just talk about Punditas for a while. Xylem is a customer of Punditas, to be fair, so I can talk about it. Punditas delivers just-in-time tips, tricks, tutorials, opinions, discussions, open-closed issues, enhancements, help references customer presentations for PTC Creo, Windchill, and other products in a personalized, contextual, and structured environment for end users and admin users. So this is a very, we're finding it a useful product to be able to go in and find information very, very quickly. Things like if you want to understand you're upgrading Windchill, and we're planning to upgrade to Windchill 11. We're also planning to go Creo 4. So what build of Windchill do we need to be compatible with Creo 4? But if we stay with Creo 3, you know, M100, for instance, those are things that the information you could dig hard and find it, or you can use a system like this, a capability like this, to find information very quickly. And you could also find information about if you have to manage, say, SolidWorks or AutoCAD or something else. So it's not specific all to PTC products, depending how you license it. Very easy to use, and they constantly make new investments in the product. So again, I can talk about this as a customer, as a reference that you know, we find value in it. So I encourage you to look for it. Beyond that, Punditas is a fantastic partner. They are so interested in really raising the bar for the entire PTC user community. The amount of time they spend with us and helping the community is admirable, for sure. One of our best partners, but we have other ones as well, and they'll be participating more as well. So a little bit, again, this is a screenshot of Punditas, and you know, and how things are graphically shown. Again, I encourage you to set up contact Madhavi and take a look at this product, and I think you'll be very interested in it. So let's get to the webinar piece. Bill, I am going to turn it over to your very capable hands. Just give me a second, and I will make you a presenter, if I can figure out how to do that again, right? Hold on a second. You're all set, Bill.
Okay, Ron, are you hearing me?
I am hearing you perfectly.
Okay. Are you seeing my PowerPoint?
I see your PowerPoint, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
Bill, if I could, I totally forgot, you know, even though Bill and I rehearsed, you know, if you have questions, submit your question textually. You're all on mute currently. I didn't mention that. Again, Madhavi does a much better job at this, but enter them textually, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end to address them. Go ahead, Bill. Thank you.
Yes. Morning, everybody. I'm excited here to present on positioning assemblies. I'll get right into it here. So today, really the high-level strategy here is I probably got a 15 to 20-minute presentation here, and then really the live demo will be the exciting things to see. Then we'll make time at the end for Q&A. So about PACCAR, I think, you know, for this discussion on large assemblies and positioning assemblies and managing complex product, this is a good example of the complexity that's at PACCAR, right? So we have like 3 or 4 production plants in North America, and we got 300 trucks that are coming offline each day. And just give you an example of our bill of material for our truck. So each truck has approximately 400 bill of materials that make up that truck. And in those bill of materials, there's 8,000 orderable parts that are in those 400 bill of materials. The complexity of the logic behind those bill of materials can be 6 layers deep. We don't, the customer orders an option code. Those option codes in our system there's all kinds of layers to that option code that end up selecting the bill of material. And then from a CAD assembly standpoint, one orderable part, like an engine, in the bill of material, the orderable part in the engine is just a part number for an engine, right? But that assembly in our system obviously has lots of lower level parts that we're managing. And then from a complexity of our truck product, we have over 100 model engine combinations that we're managing. So just imagine all the hoods and the powertrain combinations and just all the variation that we have to manage for our product. So I'm actually in Denton, Texas. So this is the latest aerial picture of our facility that was just taken. In the top center, you'll see a big white building. That is a brand new test facility that was just built within the last year. And this has our the engineering office and the manufacturing plant. So I have the luxury just to walk outside the door, walk across the breezeway here, and see trucks being built. And on the right is a good example of our assembly line. So the takeaway here is that every truck that comes down line is different. There's not one that's the same that you see there. You can see you got different mirrors on the truck. This is basically taken at hood set where the hood is put on. You can see that second picture has an air cleaner. And then the third blue truck back there has a sleeper on it that's different than the other ones. Then you can see the exhaust types are different. So lots of different variation for each model that comes offline. This is kind of a cool. When you on this bottom left, this is a 3D model that we've created that virtually represents our plant. When you walk into our offices here in the visitor center, we actually have a model that represents this 3D plant. So this 3D plant, and we kind of a cool thing about this model is we put this into Creo view with fully positioning assembly structure, and we sent it to through HTC Vive. We looked at it in a virtual reality world. And then the right kind of shows the other Creo view. You know, we're able to load up multiple trucks concurrently in Creo view, and I'll show that live today, but it kind of gives you an image of the different variances of hoods and cabs and exhaust systems that we have that we're managing. From my standpoint, so each year I have to write a goal to what I want to accomplish at PACCAR. so the top one here, this modifying parametric and view. That's been something we've been trying to do since 2002 probably. When product view I think came out, that was we saw that we needed to get to that, and we've been working that. You know, in 2009 is when we went to Windchill and started publishing things and really started this venture. The thing that I want people to take away here today is this idea of connecting metadata and 3D information. So in the big picture of things, you know, how can you take advantage of the metadata that's on your 3D data to make your systems easier to search and find, especially with, you know, I know lots of companies probably have WT part attributes, and that's something that's, you know, how do you take advantage of that? You know, and obviously from my standpoint, I'm visualization. I want to be able to see stuff, so I'm trying to, you know, get a more efficient process of manipulating the metadata through visualization technology for a better user experience. And so this I'll show you also, and Creo View has lots of cool technology where you can manage these assemblies and manipulate the metadata, and I'll show that. And this actually, you know, in Creo View you have the opportunity to look at WT part attribute data. And to me, that's where the money opportunity is getting all this metadata and this 3D content connected. So for me, just a, you know, this little background on myself, I've been at Peterbilt for 19 years now. I've been in development, vehicle integration. I've been in engineering support, CAE, and then I'm currently in an advanced design group. My claim to fame here throughout the entirety of my career is really the assembly architect for our large assemblies. And so I'm the one that creates these large assemblies for all development to work towards. Then I also get the luxury, and all this stuff kind of caters to what you're going to see today in my presentation also. So I get to develop and administer the training for large assembly usage in the Creo parametric environment and the Creo View environment. And I'm also a Windchill organization admin. So the key thing here that I want people to understand is I'm not the site admin. So if you're asking questions about how to manage the Creo workers or how to install them, that's not me. I'm the user. I'm the one that understands all the settings on how to apply, you know, what settings are needed to make things work, and actually how to use all the Creo Windchill software from a user standpoint and make everything work. So what you're going to see is a lot of things that your users can take advantage of today. And then you know, I've been a visualization technical committee member, and then you know, also the other cool part of my job here is, you know, is obviously I'm the assembly architect, so I always get to see the latest and coolest, you know, development stuff from a truck standpoint of what we're developing, but I also get to see the cool future stuff that PTC is developing. So I'm always trying to stay ahead of the curve with all this software, you know, View, Parametric, Illustrate, and we're also, you know, one of the new things that's on my resume now is being able to work in ThingWorks Studio to create augmented reality experiences. So when I presented in 2014 at PTC Live Global, this was kind of the high-level summary of what I wanted to show and brag about back then, and that's really this capability in Creo View of bringing in configurations from Creo Parametric and making them available in Creo View, and also the ability to create configurations while you work in Creo View and save those back into Windchill. And really, it's this development environment of being able to allow your users to work with the latest content, you know, work with variants, and then also collaborate when you got multiple groups. So at PACCAR, we have designers all across the world that are collaborating within these assemblies that we create in Europe, Australia, India, Netherlands, you know, and then obviously in North America we got Kenworth and Peterbilt that are collaborating together with all these assemblies. And here's some example capability. I think this is worthwhile noting. So in my world, what I'm trying to push for is maximize the use of lightweight data that we're publishing from Windchill. So all of these use cases were downstream users. One of the cool things when we went into this process was obviously my focus was engineering, right? Was trying to get these workflows developed for engineering, but really what's come out of it is all these downstream users are getting value out of using the data that we're creating in Creo View and Windchill and using it in downstream functions. So augmented reality, we've actually successfully, you know, sent data to mobile, and we're one of the HoloLens developing partners with Microsoft. So we've got I've got a HoloLens at my desk right now that we're evaluating. So that and the input to that is what was, you know, from ThingWorks Studio with a PVZ file from Creo View input into it. So we're going directly from engineering Creo View data directly into this HoloLens. The virtual reality evaluation, like I said, we had our 3D plant and we put a full truck, and that was basically a direct plug-in from Creo View to Vive, HTC Vive hardware. And so we evaluated that too. That's something we're looking at. And like I said, the augmented reality, virtual reality, both those worlds are kind of it's the new tech that we're just looking at, right? It's not in production. It's just stuff we're evaluating at this point. Pre-production 3D models. So this is a lot of data from Creo View, making my life easier. When I first created a full truck for marketing, 2010, it took me a month and a half. I'm down to like 3 hours now to create these models and be able to save them and get them to marketing in the format they need, and using Creo View. Off-site packaging reviews. This is an interesting use case that comes out also, right? So we've got a a manager that's not even in engineering anymore. He came from engineering, but he's outside of engineering. He's got his laptop. He's at a customer site. He can log in and load up data from Windchill and Creo View and look at geometry while he's working with the customer. So, little stuff like that we're working with. Generation of service manual content, disassembly, assembly sequence stuff, and then generating images for our customer truck order interface. That's something new we're creating also using Creo View. The key thing here is, from a positioning assembly standpoint, is a lot of these activities we're mentioning here happen before release. But like the data set that I just sent to marketing this week, it's for a production model that's still being developed. So, and that requires you to be able to load content that's the latest version quickly and easily. So now we get to the what, where, what, and how here for positioning assemblies. So from a high level, I'm hoping most of the people in my audience here know what a positioning assembly is, but I'll try to. This is my my simplified terminology of what the three differences are, and from my standpoint, it's not PTC's definition, but this is my definition. So a standard publish, when you publish an assembly as a standard, this basically means that all the lower level components in that assembly are published and basically zipped up into a file to a frozen state. So that's my simple definition of what a standard publish is. So whenever you go to a positioning assembly type publish, basically what happens is that top assembly is loaded in an assembly-only rep, almost like that. There's none of the components or geometries brought into session, and only the structured links of the first-level components are really needed to be stored for positioning assembly. So the publish happens fast, right? It's just the links that it needs the knowledge of. And then extended positioning assembly, it's a hybrid between the two. And extended positioning assembly, it's needed when you have assembly cuts or flexed features exist in your assembly. So now why should you publish as positioning assembly? So standard, if you publish standard, anytime that lower level component changes, you're going to have to republish that assembly to get those lower level components to be representative of the latest version. Then you end up with a larger file size and longer publish times also. So I think this larger file size is an interesting one that's really coming into PACCAR's play, because our growth on our data storage was significantly increasing, and we're always just trying to find ways to save money and make it more efficient and store data. And so we put these purge things in place. But in the big picture of things, what you find out is that we have an assembly, and the PVZ file, when you publish it, it's like 10 megabytes, right? So the standard publish on it is going to be 10 megabytes, whereas if you went to a positioning assembly, it would be like 200 kilobytes. So that gives you a representative, you got storage size things to consider also. So positioning assembly, why do you want to positioning assembly? From my standpoint, the most important thing here is you got the ability to load the latest versions on lower level components without republishing, without loading up your publisher every time your stuff changes, and you get a very fast publish and a smaller file size, and you get there's many more reasons I'll show during the presentation that I'm in Creo View that we can talk about. Now a lot of people ask me, why not just publish everything as extended positioning assembly and just take that out of the equation? So this is the three reasons why you want to limit it. So the publisher still has to download required dependents. So in our world, we got master models, that are placing 40 million objects. You can't download all those requirements. It's not going to work, right? So then also you still have to republish as lower level components change when you have an extended positioning assembly type publish. Because it's publishing the images of those objects that have cuts through them. So you have to republish those objects whenever those objects change. And then also, for our standpoint, we want to have Creo parametric functionality enabled in Creo View. So the way users open up simplified reps and manage simplified reps in Creo Parametric, we wanted that carried through in Creo View. And with extended positioning assembly published, the only simplified rep you get with extended positioning assembly is the one that you define for publishing, which in our case is that default rep. And here's kind of a statistic from the PTC Live Global. The key takeaway here, right, is your performance. And you get 44 seconds for Creo View to load it, where it takes 1,440 seconds to load it in Pro E. so now how to publish? There is a bunch of ways in Windchill and stuff to publish, but this is PACCAR's current way, and I think when you read the PTC, tech support, this is probably the standard that probably most people are doing, and what I see everybody doing. That there's other ways you can automate things, but I'm a firm believer in configuring and using out-of-the-box functionality, and that's all I'm showing you today is configuration changes and out of the box. We don't have much customization for publishing set up, and so from a standpoint from a user, the users just check in their Creo Parametric files into Windchill, and we have this positioning assembly parameter in our start part, and it's the key thing is designated, so Windchill sees it, and on check-in, Windchill sees this attribute and sends to the publisher. Now you'll notice that we have extended positioning assembly also listed here, but it's not designated. So the logic here is for the very few assemblies that need to be positioning assembly, we make it easy just to make this checkbox change. Then also from an admin standpoint, there's an easy way to edit a bunch of assemblies at once to add the positioning assembly parameter. Now I'll show both of these workflows kind of live how they work. And then also one of the things that PTC has set up on their side is being able to publish from a list. So if you've got 1,000 assemblies in an Excel list or something that you want published, PTC does have a document out there that basically shows you how to publish from a list. And I highly recommend setting that up in your environment to really take advantage of, remove a lot of the manual work it takes to manage positioning assembly from the other standpoints that I got set up here. So if you want further automation, that publish from list process is probably what you want to look at. So this is my take on, if you're a company and you're trying to decide if you want to use positioning assemblies or if not, from a high level, this is the best thing that I've come up with. If you're making, and this isn't PACCAR's or PTC's recommendation. This is my opinion. So if I was a company and I was trying to make a decision on using position assembly, this would be my logic that I'd recommend your criteria be, right? So if you want to see latest content within your assemblies in Creo View, and you have multi-level assemblies, then you probably want to start publishing positioning assemblies if you want to take advantage of Creo View. If you want to minimize publish time and storage, and at the same time maximize your throughput and your performance, then you probably, on your publisher, you probably want to start publishing a positioning assembly, because you're going to get all four of those things. So the key thing that for my reason why I wanted positioning assemblies was this enabled collaboration in the development environment when you have multiple users. So if you do have multiple users working in assemblies and you want them to always be seeing each other's latest content within these large assemblies in Creo View, then you probably need positioning assembly. And then also in our world, we have configuration simplified reps at different levels of the tree structure. And so you really, if you want to be able to see those simplified reps in Creo View at all those levels, including the top level, then positioning assembly is a good strategy to go to also. One thing you'll notice that I'm not mentioning here is some WT part functionality. and Windchill options and variants functionality. I know that you're going to want positioning assemblies to really probably take advantage of that. Now we're not there yet, so just give you a heads up that we know that we need positioning assembly to make some of that functionality work. So where are the areas of interest when you look at? So I think this is an important topic here on the upper left. So I have given you some settings here for the WVS properties. So there's really two areas of the WVS properties. I've deleted all the settings out except for these. So these are the highlighted ones that are important to me right now and to what users are probably going to do. But this one right here, this copy forward setting, I just entered an enhancement request for this. So this is the workflow that we have right now. So right now, with this setting controls is this copy forward setting. So these are the two workflows that I'm imagining most companies have. They probably have a drawing process where they check in and promote the drawing, and they have their users, some reviewers that are reviewing the drawings and making markups on those drawings in Creo View. In those cases, you're probably not going to want to copy those markups that your reviewers are doing forward, right? So anytime you're if that drawing iterates from revision A to revision B, you don't want those revision A markups on revision B. So you want that copy forward disabled for drawings. Now in my case, with assemblies, I want those annotations copied forward all the time because I'm collaborating, right? I want engineers to modify assemblies, and I want to be able to put markups in Creo View, whether it's in an annotation, whether it's an animation assembly sequence, whether it's a saved group. You know, I want those copied forward. And right now, with the current configurations out of the box, you can't do it because this setting applies to both drawings and assemblies. So you can't. It's either all on or all off for drawings and assemblies. So I've got enhancement requests out there to hopefully be able to get more fine-tune that to where I can control, have copy forward disabled on drawings and copy forward enabled on assemblies. And then also, so if you're on the call, I highly recommend you go vote for that enhancement request. And then these are the actual settings for the positioning assembly to enable positioning assemblies to work. And the key thing here is that you'll notice that there's really two areas to it. It's the extended positioning assembly settings, and then it's the positioning assembly settings. And really, with the extended positioning assembly, this defines or it should align with the attributes that you're putting in Creo parametric, the name in Creo parametric. And then also, you define the simplified rep that you want to open to create the extended positioning assembly publish. And the default rep really should be master rep, because you really need to open up master rep of your assembly to create this extended positioning assembly publish to get the cuts through all the parts that are in that assembly. So, and then I think a key thing here that some of the people will probably notice is we don't have any filter methods defined right now. So if you're looking to automate some publishing, you'll want to take advantage of that. You know, that's more of a I call filters more of a customization than configuration. So like I said, we do not customize. So we don't have any customizations for filters yet. And then other things to consider when you're working with positioning assemblies. I just got them listed out here, right? So and I can't show these to you, but your recipe file, you have to have that set up. Which worker you're publishing to. In our environment, everything's Creo Parametric 2 right now. We're trying to get to Creo 4 by the end of the year. Your worker config.pro that is connected to this parametric worker when it launches is important. Your Windchill settings you have to set up to get these two attributes in Windchill, so Windchill has them defined. Some XML-based published rules. So this is an interesting one here. So as an example, if you want to output a step file or an IGES file when your worker publishes, you can set up configuration rules, and they're just XML text files that you load into your Windchill that define all that stuff. They're really simple to manage. We have that set up to where whenever a user checks in, we get an assembly, and then it also has a definition if they want to create an IGES file along with it. Then obviously the publisher adapter is another thing you have to manage and consider. So we're on publisher adapter 3.1, and from our experience, I would not recommend 3.1 for anybody. Go to Creo adapter 4. We got a case out there right now, and we're having issues with publishing on converting author states, and it's a big frustration right now. So I don't know if anybody else has issues with the Creo View 3.1 adapters, but we're not happy with it. We're trying to get to Creo 4 as quick as possible. Here's some cool statistics before I get into my demo here. So in general, 8 seconds to publish an assembly where over 40 million objects are positioned in 3D space. That's make life easy and simple there. We have had Creo View loaded 6 million branch links into a session. Our server in Denton is 2,000 miles away from the server in Renton, Washington. It takes 4 minutes to load all 26 variants that we have created in Creo View that loads up the cab, hood, suspension, and some of the chassis components. So this is a performance coolness here, is be able to load these up concurrently is the key word here. It loads them all up at the same time. You can see them all at the same time. All right, so now what I have is the cool stuff that everybody's waiting for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my demo, and I'm going to start off with Creo Parametric and how things work. So really, from the standpoint of Creo Parametric, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the quick process that we use for check-in and how it goes to the publisher, if everybody's aware of it, and just showing you the things that I look at when I publish things. So I've got this assembly, and I've got my parameters here, and you can see that where's my positioning assembly? Positioning assembly set to yes, and it's designated here. Now I've got my environment set up where I'm gonna check this out. Just going to make a quick change here. I'm going to regenerate, save. And then I'm going to do my check-in. And I've got my icon set up here quickly to communicate with Windchill. So this is my check-in. This setting here is probably important for people. I wish there was a config setting that prevented users from even being able to select viewables here, because what this means is if you select the radio button for viewables here, it means your Creo Parametric session is going to generate the viewables that get checked into Windchill instead of letting the Windchill publisher publish. So from my standpoint, I wish this was hidden from a standpoint of even letting the user select it, because you want Windchill to publish it to get the positioning assembly strategy. And so I'm going to finish and check in, and what I have here is I have my WVS job monitor up, and what happens is as soon as it checks in, it goes into ready state, and this is disappointing. So we've got 127 objects in queue, so it's going to take a little bit to get processed, but what happens is it puts it in queue. And here, and I published this earlier just for this purpose, to show people the statistics. So earlier this morning I checked it in at 8:28, and it started processing at 8:29, and it finished within that same minute. So an example, it's 6:29:37, and then 20 seconds later, it was all complete. So 20 seconds to publish positioning assemblies, and it ranges between 8 and 25 seconds almost for every positioning assembly in our system. No matter how many components are in that assembly, whether it's just one like this one, or whether it's the 40 million. And so that's Creo parametric. Now what I want to show you is another tip and trick for managing positioning assemblies. So like from a Creo parametric standpoint, we have our start assembly file set up, right? So that attribute's already includes the start. So whenever somebody creates a new assembly in parametric, that attribute's automatically in there, right? So you want to set that up for positioning assemblies. The other thing is a lot of customers, and I helped out a customer just last week, and he thought this was the coolest thing that he's seen to make life easier. But what you're going to have when you start positioning assembly is you may have a large assembly like an airplane, and you want to set that assembly up to have positioning assembly. You want to get that attribute integrated into those assemblies and get those published, right? So this process here is what I use when I have a large assembly, and I want a lot of those subcomponents in that assembly to be published as positioning assemblies. So what I'll do is I will search for the assembly. And I got one searched here. And there's a key thing in the add to workspace function that's very powerful that I want to make people aware of. And you basically set you have to get required dependents, but you limit your expansion level. And I don't know how many people are aware of this. If you limit your expansion level to 2 and get required dependents, like if you know all your assembly structures, if you've got a nice organized assembly and all the assemblies are in the first 3 levels of your assembly, you can, but your assembly has a million objects like ours do, you can just get and collect those first 2 levels. So if I go to my advanced tab and look to see what's collected here, it's just going to get that first 2 levels of components, right? So you can add those to your workspace, and then once you add those to your workspace, I'm not going to add these to the workspace, you can actually go into your workspace, and you can, in your workspace, you can easily find all assemblies, right? So you check out all your assemblies. Once you have them checked out, you can select as many objects as you want, and I've done 2,000 at once with this process. You edit your attributes. So when you edit your attributes, you have the capability to select all your objects and use, as long as that positioning assembly column is shown, you have this question mark function, and you can modify all of them at the same time. See how that works? So set them all to no. You want them. You obviously don't want them at no, but I'm just showing you how you set them. But that'll allow you to add the attributes. And the neat thing about the way the Windchill works here is it automatically designates that attribute in Creo parametric from your non-embedded workspace. This workspace is not connected to Creo parametric, but it's still going to be smart enough to designate that parameter in Creo parametric through this function right here. So this is a cool way to do it if you're trying to maximize your out-of-the-box configuration of managing the positioning assembly. This is a good way to get you started with just getting the attributes on assemblies that you don't currently have this attribute on, and you got one large assembly that you want to try to manage. So that's my tip and trick for being able to edit attributes from your workspace, and then also the check-in workflow from Creo parametric. What I want to do now is actually go into Creo View and show you all the functionality that's enabled from what we have from these positioning assemblies. And the demo will be mostly in Creo View here. So the first thing that I want to show everybody is really, and I hope everybody can see this okay, is understanding the icons and how information gets loaded in Creo View. Now one thing you're seeing here is I've configured our model tree to only show the positioning assembly attribute and whether it's on or not, whether it's set to true or not. This way I can show you, I don't have to show you our assembly structure and part numbers. So, so what this is, one thing, really, the key thing to positioning assemblies, to know that it is set up as a positioning assembly, is this icon with, we call them the 3 shark fins on the side of the icon. If you see that the icon has 3 shark fins on it, it means that it's being controlled, it's loading up as a link through positioning assembly. So as an example, if I come down here to the bottom, I've got assemblies down here at the bottom of the tree that are not published as positioning assemblies. Like this one is not positioned as positioning assembly, but it has the icons. But if I expand this out, all of these components underneath of it are just transparent icons. So this assembly here was published, not positioning assembly. This is a standard published. It'll have these icons. Now, understanding how things get loaded, right? So this assembly here with the red icons means it's not loaded. So to load a positioning assembly, what I communicate to users is when you got large assemblies in your system, never use the check boxes. You have 2 options to load that branch link. You can either click the arrow here or double click on the assembly, and that loads that branch link and the metadata information you saw populate. So that's kind of just a quick lesson on how to load and what not to do. If you have large assemblies, you know, that stay away from checkboxes. So unless you know it's a small assembly at the bottom of the tree. The next thing that I want to show is all the settings that you probably should have enabled to take advantage. It's really settings and filters that are in Creo View. So a lot of these, and I don't know, I'm quite sure most companies that I know that I talked to when I was at PTC Live here, it seems like most people are able to upgrade to the latest version of Creo View 3.1 or Creo View 4. So the stuff that I'm going to show you, you're probably seeing, and what we're on is Creo View 3.1 here. The filtering capability to find data in Creo View is very cool in what they've put in place. So what I'm going to show you from a simplified rep standpoint in filters. So if I pick on an assembly and I go to the Viewable tab, you'll see that I've got 384 simplified reps out of 31,000 reps that are loaded in this current session. So to make that filter happen, you really want, I've changed this. This is my default setting right here. It's only files attached to selected parts. So this is the setting that you want. I'll leave this in here just so it's recorded. This is the default setting you want to make default in your system for the process I'm going to show you today. And so what happens? You pick your assembly in your tree, and that assembly and its reps are going to be filtered to show in this list. So only now your list automatically filtered to show items from that assembly you selected, which is really the workflow that you see in Creo Parametric. The user will select an assembly in Creo Parametric, and then he's looking for a user-defined rep. Right? At least that's our workflow with simplified reps and be able to select configurations. So we wanted to enable that in Creo View, and that setting there gets you to that point. The other cool thing about these filters is like I said, instead of the only file selected patch parts, these 2 functions are brand new in Creo View 3. You can basically filter down to only show reps with this name that starts with Z underscore, right? So all of the reps that we have, if you have a naming convention on simplified reps that represent something, whether it's combination state reps that you're using for model-based definition or something else, you can configure that filter to only show those reps that you want the users to see. And so That's very powerful. So the other thing that I want to show here is the filtering on attributes. So this is something that I just stumbled upon one day. So I thought it was pretty cool, and I'm sure most people don't see it. But one thing here, and this is a cool thing. I got two birds with one stone here. This assembly, actually, we have some WT part functionality in our system where we're creating. What you're seeing here is Windchill part attributes on my CAD assembly that are viewable, and I can interrogate and collect data on within. So this is a Windchill attribute for model year that this truck was built and created. So we're seeing this attribute here. Now the neat thing about this table right here with these attributes, because as soon as you pick on an assembly, it shows the attributes that are selected, right? Is if you right mouse button in this area, you can filter your attributes. This is something that I've never seen I haven't seen it on any PTC documentation, but it's just something cool that you can select from. So when you hit this filter attributes, you basically have all these attributes, and I think, you know, from a standpoint of getting data out of Windchill on your data and figuring out what attributes and what data you have populated. I mean, you're getting everything in Creo View here. You're getting your PVS properties, you're getting your system properties, you're getting your Windchill EPM properties, you're getting your Pro EPM. You're getting every attribute that's imaginable on that system. So you can see my scroll bar here. It's quite the list of attributes that are available to you that you can extract out of your system. I think it's, you know, if you're looking at trying to create some processes where you're trying to you know, do reporting or look at getting data out of your system and making it in a light way, and at the same time be able to interact with your 3D data, this is pretty powerful. So another setting that's important when you're connected to Windchill is your cache setting. So underneath File Options, your file cache should be enabled. So what we find out is when, and I'll show you how this works, right? So if I come in here, let me find a simple assembly here. If I load the geometry, let me open this up in a new view. Oh, come on. There we go. If I load this geometry up in a new view, that geometry gets saved to your hard drive, because the first time it has to load, it has to go to your Windchill servers to get that geometry and the metadata, right? But after if you got your cache enabled, with positioning assembly, the link still has to go to your server to get the branch link, get the metadata tied to it. But whenever it loads up the geometry, that geometry comes in from your cache folder. So you will get a significant performance benefit by enabling cache if you're connected to Windchill, especially if you're always loading up the same assembly. I mean, it's a significant performance improvement to have cache enabled. The other setting that I think is cool to see is the annotation. So this setting here, so when you're in your annotation sets, we have like 700 annotations created against assembly. There's two ways to look at this annotation set view. You can look at it from an icon view, and this is what most people see by default. It's kind of like a thumbnail view, but when you right mouse button click in this area, you get an option to go to a tree view, and this gets you the folder view. One of the things neat about this folder view, and I got an enhancement request in this for this too. This is frustrating. is the folders should be collapsed by default whenever you come in here. For some reason, it always expands. And for people that have lots of annotation sets like this, I'm always constantly coming in here to collapse everything to make it look good and find the stuff I'm looking for. So much like Windchill, if you go to the Windchill table, just for reference, when you go to the Windchill table, representations, annotations table, all these folders are collapsed by default. I don't know why Creo View doesn't have it collapsed by default, just like Windchill. So that's something, and hopefully they're getting that fixed. We put enhancement in for that too, but yeah, that'd be nice to make everything collapse. But the neat thing about this is like if I come into my full trucks here and I select 3 of them, you get this functionality to create folders, rename folders, delete, open a new view. So you have this ability to organize your data, and that's really what's happening with this assembly, right? Is we have like 10 different people that are collaborating in this assembly, creating annotations and markups, and it was getting really messy with everybody's annotations listed on a single level. So what we did is we created folders for each one of those users and put their annotation sets into that folder. It makes it easy to organize and easy to find stuff and figure out who's all working in your assembly and stuff. So that's the neat thing to do, is to switch to tree view or use these folder view. Then also at the same time is you also have the ability, when you're in the tree view here, is to like we've kind of put in place a naming convention for your annotations, just like what you want to do for simplified reps when you're working with model-based definition. You're creating your combination states. Everybody's probably got their defined method for naming stuff. We've got a preferred method for naming our reps. So for me, my initials are Bill T. Ryan. So every annotation that's BTR, I can filter and now I just have my annotations that I've created in here, right? And so that gives you a list. You filter everybody else's out, and you just have your annotations that you're interested in and that you want to work with. So that's a neat way to filter out. Now the other filtering thing that I really wanted to show was within search. So the search settings are pretty powerful to be able to search and find stuff. So I've got 3 searches that I've predefined here. This one's a neat one here. So everybody likes Excel functionality and being able to go in and out between Excel. So one of the things that PTC has put into place is this ability to copy and paste a list of a bunch of items that you want to search against. So like in our case, I've got a list of fasteners in a spreadsheet, right? I could basically copy that list, come into Creo View, create a nice search criteria. If I got a million objects in this assembly and I just want to find these list of 50 objects that are loaded, I can hit this More button and it brings up this list. And basically this list I can just copy and paste from Excel. And this is my pre-populated list of every fastener that we have in our system, so I can find all fasteners. so I just continually update this list, this search criteria, and then basically your searches are an XML file that gets saved on your preferences file. But it's pretty powerful. We had a starting list that one of the engineers created that had a list of 500 fasteners that are in our system. And I wanted to have that search in Creo View, so I just copied his file and pasted it in here. So that's something neat for being able to come in from Excel. The other thing that I want to show is some fancy logic that you can create in Creo View. So everybody has issues with publishers. Let me see. Let me cancel that. I don't want to lose all my search stuff here. So this published files list, there is some fancy logic with ands and ors and different attributes and ignore case. This is all there's some complicated logic. You know, I'm searching against parts. You can see the radio buttons changing up here. So you can get very creative with searching up against all this rich metadata that exists in your data set. Whether it's WT parts, you know, and you can combine a search with WT parts. So I'm sure there's a few people on this call that create career reports in Windchill. I'm one of those people. I've created career reports in Windchill to search for fancy stuff. But this is a much easier user interface to understand the data model, because the data model is right here in your attributes table. You just click on a part, you see all the attributes that you can search up against. Then you can create your search criteria while looking at the attributes. Much better than the Windchill data model, where you have to guess at the attribute that you're trying to hunt for. Maybe Windchill 11's improved that, but the search in here is so much easier, because like I said, you're live looking at the attributes that you want to search up against and create. Your users will really appreciate that. being able to create a search criteria based on any attribute, you know, in your system here. So it's very simple. And then you got the logic, the ands and ors, and like I said, I've loaded 6 million branch links of metadata to search up against in here and create reports against. So Creo View is very powerful when it comes to that. And the beautiful thing is you're working with you're doing that interrogation against with your 3D models that you're looking at. So that takes care of the search. Okay. Oh, I had one more search. So another cool thing that. One of the things that I was noticing in the model tree, let me get it back here, was different colored icons. Notice how this icon is blue and the block is not transparent, whereas the block is transparent looking. I was trying to reverse engineer why that was happening. And what I stumbled upon is that the adapter developers at PTC are creating or outputting different data depending on which adapter you have in your system. So what I did is I developed a search that basically had the adapter. So your adapter version on your PVS file properties, I could find all my assemblies that have this adapter, which is an older adapter. I want to update those assemblies to the new adapter to get the better functionality. I could find all those assemblies, you know, get it into a report, right? So here's all those assemblies in my model tree that have that are published with that adapter. The neat thing about this is all that data is down here in this attribute, and I'll go to my next list here. My next functionality that I think is very cool is how do I get that list out of Creo View? So I've got them all selected here. The neat thing about this table is it's just like Excel. You just copy selected rows, go to Windchill or go to your Excel, and I can paste. So you're getting data out of Creo View into Excel very easily. So you can go from Excel into Creo View like I showed on that search criteria with copy paste functionality, but you can also get data out of Creo View into a spreadsheet very easily and quickly. What I end up doing is copying, getting these assembly numbers. Then I have my publish from list that I that I was showing earlier, that I was recommending that you set up, is you can have your list of assemblies that you want to publish or republish and send back to the publisher. So that's really, you know, think about that process. You could also be creative and do Creo reports in Windchill to find this stuff too, but from my standpoint, I find it much easier to, I like to live in Creo View, so my life, I'd much rather live in Creo View than a Windchill Creo report. That's just me. So that is, that's search. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show is what is the advantage of opening multiple assemblies in Creo View? So what I'm going to do here, let me set up my environment here. I'm going to close these out. I'm going to close them all at once. Yeah. So your annotation sets here, go back to my tree view. So opening multiple things concurrently. My next two samples are working with annotations and simplified reps. So from annotations, you can multi-select, and then you can right mouse button to open a new view. So all of these annotations are going to open up concurrently in different views. And to me, this is very powerful. Now that was the test that I had where I could open up 20. There's really no limit to the amount of annotations you can select at once. Like I said, I've selected 26 full trucks at once and just opened them all up into new views, and all 26 of them load up. Like I said, it took 4 minutes to do that, and so that's the process of working with multiple. You know, the advantage of having these annotations, you can open up multiple ones at the same time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the simplified rep functionality. I'm going to close my session and reopen it just to start over from scratch to show you what happens here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up some simplified reps here. I'm going to show you how this works. So one of the things we're noticing that PTC could improve is when assemblies have a bunch of annotation sets loaded to them, you do notice a performance hit the first time you load up a link. I have noticed that. So you notice that took for a while just to load that one branch link. And that is because we have 700 annotation sets loaded up against this assembly. And so I don't know if people are going to have that many annotation sets that they're creating up against assembly. But so what happens is I've got this loaded up here. Now from a viewable standpoint, what I'm going to do, the viewables are your simplified reps that users create in Creo Parametric, right? And so now I've got my viewables here. I'm going to load up this one rep called preload. And what this is going to do is it's going to preload up some simplified reps. It's preloading up the assemblies that have simplified reps that I want to be able to select from. That's basically all that rep did. Now what I can do is I can go back to my filter. I go back to my viewables where my simplified reps are. Now I want to look at the assemblies that have these reps in it. So now the cool thing is I'm going to build up a truck. So I want a 579 metal bumper, and let's get a sleeper that's 72-inch sleeper. I don't want to open up too much. Let's just do that. Let's just do that simply here. So I'm going to open up two reps. These are simplified reps that users create in Creo Parametric. Remember that. So I'm opening up their reps in Creo View. And these are simplified reps that reside at much lower level structures in these assemblies. So just to give you an example, if I click on this part, look how deep that went into the model tree. So if you imagine that the engineer changed this part, if you didn't have positioning assemblies, in order for the engineer to see the content up here, you'd have to republish every one of these levels, or at least the very top level, if you open up this assembly to see that changed content, right? So positioning assembly, the content, you get the advantage of the intelligence of coming down to this lower branch link and loading up that latest model in positioning assembly. So that's just to give you an idea of why you would want to publish, just to give you an idea of being able to have that power of looking at the latest content. And I don't know how many companies listening have this complexity, this level of depth on their structure, but if you have more than 2 levels, you're going to find it advantageous that you want these positioning assemblies to be set true as you come down. So that was how you can assemble or create, load up 2 reps at once. Now the next thing you can do is, the neat thing about Creo View is the selection. So if I go from right to left, you get this selection where it gets everything that's intersected. Whereas if I just want to get that end of that bumper, I can go from left to right, and it's only going to get that bumper. You notice it didn't get this section of the bumper. So there's left to right functionality with box selection, but then there's also the ability to manipulate and add parts. I'm having a hard time on my screen seeing which got selected and highlighted there, so I apologize. So I'm going to add this to a view. Yeah, there we go. So if you notice there, I did 2 things. So I did that too fast. Let me do that over again. So let me undo. So once you have these objects selected in the model tree, you have the option to add them to a view with the right mouse button menu, but you also have the ability to just drag and drop. With the, if you left mouse button select over and then just let it go, drag and drop into the view. So you can imagine if I open up a bunch of reps for the cab, the hood, the bumper, I can quickly assemble and create a truck. And then once you create that, I can save the annotation set. I mean, it's like a markup, right? Label it. Oh yeah, I got to put my initials on it so everybody knows. Right, so it saved that annotation set. Now it'll show up in my annotations. I think we're running short on time, so I'm gonna go through just a couple more things here real quick. So one of the things that you're going to see from giving data or allowing other users from outside your engineering organization to use, and that's really this ability to open up Creo View, load up these annotations, and generate data that they can use in their applications, whether it's step and digest files that they need for something, or whether it's just still images for a PowerPoint, or if you want to just save your PVZ out that you want to input into ThingWorks Studio or something, or a virtual reality or something else, some other software, or even go to Creo Illustrate to create a assembly sequence or something in Creo Illustrate with markups. So to do that, and I've got my configuration set up to all my saved functions. This quick access toolbar, I've moved down to my bottom underneath the ribbon, as you see here. And I've added quite a few functions, but the main ones here are the save. So I can save as annotation set, or I can save as a 3D model, which gets you this functionality. And so being able to create IGES in step. Now, I will tell you that when I create IGES, I find it nice to do selected in multiple files, just for a tips and tricks. This is the setting that for some reason, this works out very well when you do multiple files of IGES and selected. If you notice, I'm always box selecting things before I hit the save button. That's just, ever since Creo View 2, it seems like that's been the tried and true process for saving, exporting out stuff is to do the selected, especially when positioning assemblies. Don't take that risk, because your positioning assembly's got a million objects, right? If you got a bunch of objects in session, you really, when you output, you just want to output the stuff that you're looking at here, right? From what I've found, you're taking a risk that the output's going to include a bunch of other stuff that you have in session that you don't want. It's just my tried and true method for doing all these processes of creating step and IGES. And then also, like I said, you can take this and save it out, and I've got this save as PVZ. You can save as PVZ just to send out to people, or save it out, put it into, like I said, ThingWorx Studio or other applications. Then the other neat thing is the ability to create images. And I think the functionality here with images is pretty powerful. So PNG format. The cool thing here is you get to define the number of pixels that you want in here. So and you can drive up your file size to whatever file size you want. But you can go up to 10,000 pixels. But we've created very highly detailed surfaced, pretty pictures based on a high output here. But you can control what you want and everything else there. So that's images. The only other cool thing that I want to show people is I saved that annotation set, right, that has the VCHAR truck webcast. Let's say that I want to send that out to users. I want to send a hyperlink of that annotation set, so users could just click on the hyperlink and open it up. So the process, to do this, you go to your representation annotations table, and this is it right here. But the thumbnail right here, if you right-click on that thumbnail, you get the opportunity to save that annotation. Really what that save annotation does is it allows you to acquire a hyperlink. I know when I was at PTC Live in June or in May, I saw a lot of customers that were really configuring the workflow of their drawing package customized to getting links to these hyperlinks in their workflow, which was, there's companies doing that, so that's pretty cool. But this hyperlink, you can copy the shortcut, and you have the opportunity to, well, actually, you can actually generate the email automatically by sending an email, and this will create the email with the hyperlink in it. So when you send this off to somebody and they get it, and they click on the hyperlink, it automatically has the intelligence. The key thing here, when you click on these hyperlinks with positioning assemblies and everything, is remember, I've got 40 million branch links that are loaded with this. This has the logic intelligence to only load those components that are associated to that assembly. So the user can open up and see what you did, or you can save up an annotation for a design review, all kinds of workflows. Or you could even save a video, an animation video, using this process. And when the user sends it, they're going to get what you saved. So a great collaboration tool there if you want to send off hyperlinks to people or include them in PowerPoints or whatever. That really concludes what I wanted to show today. I think we're ready for questions and answers, Ron. if there's any out there.
Yes, we actually have quite a few questions, so I'm not sure we'll get through all of them, but we can either follow up via email or do a follow-up session. I have I'll go back. We got a question early on here. How do you organize dependent motion of different assemblies, so different motion skeletons in a vehicle model?
So at PACCAR, our position skeletons here. Let's see what happens here. I didn't show this cool thing. So, oh, it's not showing up. Oh, hold on a second. So our world is driven on stationary coordinate systems. So I think I get lucky and hit one of these. All of them are truck node. So basically, all of our engineers are trained. We don't do any motion things with our skeletons. Basically, our skeletons are, in our world of complexity, it's just a matter of being able to position a system in space properly. And so this, like the example, this sleeper, it can be positioned only in 3 positions in space relative to our default truck. So in our world, what we're doing is we're managing those 3 positions of that sleeper using skeletons. But motion stuff, we're not that's not being done in Creo View for sure.
Okay, sure. Good, thank you. Next question, how to import OEM step assemblies in good quality and without structure in order to store in the library as an ENVLP.
What's that format? Is it
in a library as an ENVLP.
Envelope?
Yeah, an envelope. Yeah, I should know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the step files that we're currently generating are really for communicating with advanced design or working with like we'll have suppliers that want output. So we'll have a bodybuilder, right? Peterbilt doesn't do bodybuilders, and a lot of times those bodybuilders want the chassis and the truck and the cab. So we'll create a step file from here for that. So we're not taking information out of Creo View as step files and putting them back into Creo Parametric within our environment. All our step files are usually they're either going to a supplier for quote or they're going to like I said, the use cases are for our applications group to actual customers and or our marketing department for them to create some data. But maybe that question goes back to the publisher. So just as a side, so when we send objects to the publisher, and this is kind of a get you, I guess one of the things that people need to be aware of is if you publish as positioning assemblies, you have to do some special configuration in Windchill to at the same time publish a step file at the same time that the publisher is trying to publish a positioning assembly. You really need to turn off positioning assembly to include a step file in that output. That's something that you need to be aware of when you're publishing. So if you're currently publishing by default step files on your output on check-in, if you switch to positioning assemblies, you're going to have to do some stuff to fix that. So keep that in mind. All I can say is what we've been wanting our suppliers to do is use the Creo View data and not the step file. So if we could get our suppliers to use Creo View data, then we wouldn't have to worry about generating step and IGES files. But that's a different story.
Okay, very good. Next question, is there a setting that determines to publish positioning or extended?
Is there a say that again? Is there a
Is there a setting that determines to publish, positioning, or extended?
It's for us, it's all defined by that attribute. If the attributes are set, yeah, right here. Oh, yeah. It's this attribute in Creo Parametric. Windchill. So your WVS properties file has the setting, right, that it's looking for, and that's really the trigger that Windchill is looking for, is from that WVS properties file, that attribute name that's defined in the WVS properties file. And then if this is set, then that really triggers the publish on the Windchill side. But then you have to, and what I'm not showing here is there's some, you have to define that attribute as a site admin in the Windchill area. And I'm not a site admin, so I didn't have access to, I couldn't show it anyway. But there's some settings on the Windchill side. You have to define that attribute in your Windchill environment. So when you do check it in, it knows that attribute's an actual attribute that's available in Windchill. You can't just create an attribute in Creo Parametric and check it in and expect Windchill to understand it. Windchill has to be configured.
Okay.
But it's the WVS properties file. It's the WVS properties file that's triggering the publisher to publish it as the positioning assembly.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next question: do you use combined states for model-based design? And have you had any issues with those coming across with positioning assemblies?
So the answer to model-based definition, we are not currently in production with that. But so the model-based definition functionality is very heavily dependent on the combination state in Creo Parametric, right? So if I go to my assembly here, I mean, this is everything model-based definition is driven by this tab right here. So the only place we use this tab in Peterbilt right now is for our packaging reviews. So we do have engineers that are creating packaging reviews that define the state and the cross section and the simplified rep configuration and the layering and stuff. So and we do have those combination states going through CreoView, and for the most part they come through, but we're still to be honest with you, we're waiting for the adapter to be correctly. So in our environment, CreoView 3.1 is supposed to have the latest settings that I asked PTC to develop 2 years ago, I think, for improving our simplified rep functionality. And right now we have our output on CreoView set to CreoView 2 because we still have a division that's on CreoView. So we're not seeing, I'm not even able to test the simplified rep functionality that I'm wanting to get to see if that works yet. So we still have some variations of simplified reps get created that are not coming through yet, and we have workarounds to make it all work, but it's not fully developed the way that I want our engineers to be able to take advantage of it yet. I'm really waiting for our CreoView adapter and our recipe setting. There's a recipe setting out there that allows you to define the output. So you can have a CreoView 3.1 adapter, but if you have users that still have a CreoView 2 client, you do not want to output CreoView 3.1 output out of that adapter if your user's on CreoView 2, because it won't be compatible. Your CreoView 2 users they won't be able to open up the content. So you have to make that output dummy down to the previous version's output. And we're still in that previous version's dummy's output because we still got a division that's on CreoView 2. So I'm waiting patiently. The testing that I've shown shows great promise, but I have to wait for production to really get these large assemblies tested where this works. But from what I can tell, combination states are coming through. You do see the combination states in the view.
That's excellent. So we are just coming up on the end of the allotted time for the meeting, an hour and a half, and I see there's quite a few people dropped off. Everybody's got got other commitments, right? We're all busy. So there are a lot of questions. So we wouldn't get through these questions in a timely manner. Just adding 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we wouldn't get through it and do it justice. So what I'd like to suggest is we'll either arrange to have these responded to textually through an email, or we may, like we had done with Corey, reschedule just a question and answer session where people can come back on, and maybe if it's a smaller group, we'll do it live. If not, we can unmute specific people. So if that's okay with everybody, I think we'll close the meeting off. Bill, fantastic job. I learned so much in this last hour and a half. I'll be myself and Madavi will be in touch with you to schedule the the follow up on the questions, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, thanks for letting me present. I'm all for trying to show PTC's capability and trying to get everybody aligned with trying to get the same processes. So
that's what it's all. Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. We had nearly 200 people on this meeting, so excellent work, very, very interesting. So everybody have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are, and we'll follow up with you on the next steps. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron.